Hi, so welcome to episode 2 of the Swim with Annie podcast. Today's guest is a very great friend and passionate advocate for aquatics overall and in general. And this is Eileen Hall, the head coach of both the men's and women's swimming and diving teams at St. Michael's College, also called the Purple Knights athletically. And Eileen, I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm so excited about who you are and what you bring to aquatics in Vermont.
Thanks for inviting me on.
Thanks for taking this chance on this little adventure. My first question is, Eileen, where and how did you learn to swim?
So my dad was the manager of a tennis and swim club in the town where I grew up. And so he was in charge of teaching all the swim lessons. And it's just, to me, it always is a funny story because I've seen a lot of swim lessons and I've seen a lot of kids who don't like getting in for swim lessons. As I'm sure you know, sometimes there's a lot of crying, and I couldn't understand that as a kid. So I would take my lesson and then I would get in with every other lesson. So I would do mine and then I would just stay in all morning taking all of the swim lessons and could not understand why all the kids were crying. And so very early on, I learned I loved the water. I loved the sport. And I think it had a lot to do with being there with my dad, but I just couldn't get enough of being in the water.
You know, a little bit I knew, like I knew some version of what your dad did, but I didn't know this, that you stayed in lesson after lesson. What a pleasure to hear that. And also it must have been, I bet you probably changed the emotional journey of the class much sooner than if you had not been enjoyably in there while it was happening. So that's great. I love that. And then from lessons, where did your aquatics take you next?
Summer swimming, and from there I joined a YMCA program there. I competed there, and high school swimming, and a brief stint in college swimming. So I enjoyed all of the versions of swimming.
You know, that's the I don't know how to turn my sounds up on my computer that just came in. Sorry about that. That's a similar version that I took. That I did high school swimming, and I did team competitive swimming with a Y, and then also some college swimming. And I one of the funniest things that I ever experienced with you was you called me one day. It was like 2009, and you called me. I think you phoned me. I don't think texting was even a thing yet. And I think you called me and said, "Hello, I would like to swim with Annie." Like, you said the name of the thing, and you invited me to come swim with you at St. Michael's. And extra guess, what's your cat's name?
That is Shelley.
That's great. And you invited me, and that's when I learned how fast you are. Not only fast, but you have an outrageous work ethic, and it was really fun to get to know that part of you, and I really enjoyed being invited into that space, so thank you.
Sure, I remember.
And then what is it that brought you to coaching?
Well, it started as something that I could do with when my son was little. It was summer swimming. It was a need I was living in Tennessee at the time. There was a need, and it was something that I was good at. I believed that I was good at. And so I could bring my 2-year-old with me, and the parents would watch him toddle around, and I could get started coaching. And I moved around a lot. And so each town we went into, I sought out those opportunities for coaching because, again, it was something that never felt like work to me. And it always felt like doing something that I just really loved. So I moved on from summer rec coaching to high school coaching to club coaching, and then ultimately was fortunate enough to be a college coach. About 15 years ago, I got the college coaching job.
So you've been the head coach at St. Michael's College for 15 years?
Yes.
Amazing.
It is amazing.
And what would you say is the part where you just said it didn't feel like working? Because that's how it feels to me too. Like, time goes by when I'm teaching, and unless the next group of lessons starts to hedge at the door, I don't even recognize time has passed because I'm just so absorbed. And what do you think about your feeling about coaching, how you didn't even feel like it was work? What pieces of that still exist for you, and what pieces of your own passion do you bring to the work that you do now?
So coaching to me is I always laugh because my husband will be like, "Well, I've got to go to work," and I always say I have to go to practice or I have to go to the pool. I just don't ever it doesn't ever feel like work. I think a big part of it is the student athletes that I get to work with. These are college kids who are incredibly smart and incredibly committed. And I have all the respect in the world for the fact that they are choosing to be there. It is 100% a choice. And not that when you are in high school or a club swimmer, it isn't a choice, but I think your motivation, at least your continued motivation, comes a lot from your parents. But when you get to college, it is 100% your choice. You are an adult in many ways, and so these kids continue to add on that extra complication, that extra time commitment to their already busy and very important academic lives. And so for me, that is a really rewarding experience to be among people who are choosing to be there and who surprise me and amaze me every day with what they're willing to sacrifice. And so it energizes and motivates me to do the same kind of thing. And so in that regard, when we talk about work, I think there's this implication that there's some drudgery or there's some parts of it that are not desirable. For me, it's I walk in the door and I just kind of wait for that next surprise, for that next moment where I get these kids who do things where I just sometimes to the point of making me tear up. Now, I'm not going to say it's all sunshine and rainbows because sometimes they drive me absolutely crazy. But for the most part, these kids are talented in compassion. They're talented in swimming. They're talented in empathy. They're talented in commitment and prioritization. And I just am awed by them. So it never feels like work. It feels like taking a new step every day.
What you're describing sounds to me like the way I describe flotation. When you give yourself over to the water and you lean in, it
Yes.
leans back and you have a sense of harmony with the
Yes.
water. And it feels to me like what you're describing about the way you coach is this harmonious interaction that creates collaboration and community. And it sounds like you're offering not just here's what you do, I'm your coach. It doesn't sound like that's happening at all for you at St. Michael's College or for your swimmers. Not just from what you're saying now, but from what I know of you. To me, it is literally a collaboration that you do of work and ethic and morality and invitation to grow as people.
It is very true. I have, learned a lot coaching for as many years as I have, and I will say that the very easiest, most basic, simple part of what I do is writing a workout, right? That's not the hard part about coaching, nor is it the most important part. I think anybody with a little bit of research and a little bit of scrolling around on social media can figure out a way to write a workout that is going to get somebody out of breath or even to create a season plan, which will produce some results. But there's another component of that without there is not going to be that success. So these kids need to be ready to buy in. They need to be ready to define success in a way that's appropriate based on what it is they are able and willing to put into the process. And it is learning about their value. And for me, and I tell my kids this all the time, value is less about how many points you score, how fast you swim. It is much more about what you can contribute to the team, to our mission, to our ultimate goals, but also what you take away from it when you walk out the door after 4 years. Are you strong and confident? And I work and talk a lot with my women because the world, as you know, is not always super forgiving and tolerant of women who are confident and who are strong and who fail. And so we that is one of the things you learn is your value. You learn that failure does not decrease your value. You learn that doubt does not decrease your value, but and all of those things, you learn that, you solidify that, and next thing you know, you're swimming, you're just ripping best times.
That's a beautiful sentiment. And I really love the takeaway that you described, because for me, yeah, same. There's a value of self and a confidence that I have in that realm. If I walk into a pool deck, I feel great. If I walk up into the stands, I feel welcome and confident in water myself. around swimming, around swimmers, and around, like, I think I agree, and not I think I agree. I'm confident that I agree that there's this space for what swimming gives you, which Laura and I have talked about. Laura Machuzik and I have talked about before too. That solace, that confidence, that collaboration, and what you walk away from it with, and it's, you know, a trophy, or those are great. I don't mean to discredit
Yeah.
them. Have get
Yeah.
those are wonderful accolades, but like anything that doesn't have the same value unless it's backed by, and unless you can have separately from that these things that you've just described, like an integrity of self,
Yeah.
and a moral certitude. I feel like living in moral certitude and finding your way to what your own moral values is through life, it really is helpful to learn those through workouts. So I have to disagree with you. Writing a workout, it's not as simple as you just, but I appreciate that you find it that way. I can write workouts too, but I find it, I appreciate that you speak about it like that. It made me view it from a different angle. But it is hard for me to, like you said, a season full of workouts. And my first thought was, oh, that's a smarter way to do that. Like if I was going to coach a team again, if I was going to coach a team again, that version of setting up the, docking out the whole season of workouts first and then tweaking them as you go is the right way to go. Front loading that is very intelligent. But also this version of adding to that, I really appreciate. If you could, in the interest of me staying in where I said we would stay, which is small, because now I want to go off in 10 different directions. If you could say what for you is an upheld value that you find still exists for you from learn to swim, from all your interactions with swimming, be it a learner, a teacher, a coach, an observer, a coworker, all the things. What do you think is a thread that holds true for you that you also see, I'm taking this really far, in your young adults, in your adult swimmers that swim at St. Michael's?
Well, my answer, I wish it could be something super like thoughtful and complex, but really, and I know you're going to relate to this, I think that all of that stems from water, right? So I think that as you see the difference in swimmers and in people who are learning, there are those for whom the water changes them and calms them and energizes them and gives them peace and solace. And I think that anybody who loves the water or who wants to learn to love the water is going to find their path to any place they want to be in the swimming realm, whether it is a recreational swimmer to all the way up to an elite competitive swimmer. And it is something, I write workouts. That's what I do. I condition athletes to swim fast. So, and the majority of my job is saying, get in right now and, and seeing exhausted faces. But one of my favorite things to do is to, at the end of a practice one day, we'll just stop and I'll just say, all right, 5 minutes, just goof around. And then to see them look at me like, really, really, but then turn into otters or seals, and they play and they float and they spit water and they go upside down and they just love the water. The water loves them and they love the water. And so as a child, that was me. And as an adult, it's me. My husband laughs all the time because I'm so happy when I'm in the water and I don't have to do anything except go under and listen to bubbles. And when I see my kids and any swimmer who plays in the water, to me, that is what I strive for. That is what I want to have happen. And that is what I think brings out any of those, you know, any of those traits that will add to competitive success. And so I was actually just fortunate enough this past weekend to be on deck and be part of the Special Olympics Vermont's state swim meet. And if there was ever a place where you could see that, it was there. So these athletes that are in the water swimming and smiling at the same time, right? And so to me, that is what you can look for in a person when you're considering how you're going to train them or motivate them. And that's what you also need to encourage. So even the happiest of swimmers, I coached at a swim camp at the University of Georgia 2 summers ago, and happened to be on deck while Caleb Dressel was, not Caleb Dressel, I'm sorry, the 4 a.m.er. It'll come to me in a second, but world-class 400 IMers getting ready. And here he is playing in the water as he is warming up, trying to get ready to head off to the World Champ Trials. And it is one of those things that you see it, and that's what you want to cultivate. That's what you want to work with. That's what you want to have happen.
You
Love
know,
the water.
that I was going to say, I'm not going to say anything because that was so perfect, except that concept of this world ranked competitor playing
Yeah.
before racing is right. That's from, and while safety is the utmost importance, that's the, full end game is that someone knows how to put that love and that passion to instill that inside for life, whatever you're going to do. I can walk into a building now, and if I smell a pool, it could be an apartment building. It could be,
you know right where it is.
Yeah, I just follow my nose till I get there, and I get so excited, even if I'm not going to get in it. I'm just excited to go look at it or see it or know about it.
Yep.
And I thought you were looking up the.
I'm trying to look up the same.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
I'm so annoyed that I'm missing it. Because I said Caleb Dressel out loud, and so that's all I can think of. And it's not Caleb Dressel.
Caleb Dressel is also an extraordinary athlete, so we're happy
Yes,
to
I've never
have
seen him play in the water though.
But what I think we can do is, if you find it before I finish talking, great. And if you don't, I'll throw it up in a
You can put it up in a graphic.
comment. It'll feed it in. How's that?
That sounds great.
This went way better than I even anticipated, and I love it that your reaction when I asked you to join me
Chase
was,
Kalish.
who is
Chase
it?
Kalish.
Chase
Kalish.
Kalish, and he swam the 4 a.m.
He was a 4 a.m.er. He swam for the University of Georgia, and was at one point one of the highest ranked world record holders. So Chase Kalish is his name. Yes. Whoo, sorry, had to spit that one out. But
I love a 4 a.m. and I'm sure I was not.
Yeah.
I did have the record at Fordham University in the 400 a.m.
Wow.
But then somebody, I think the next year or 2 years later, got it down. But the fact that he was playing before a 4 a.m., that's love, because that's really fun and exciting. I'm sorry to brag. I got excited that I could, because
hey, I never even swam a 400 IM. I never competed it. I was a 50 freestyler. So anybody who does a 4 a.m., you guys should definitely brag.
I love that stuff, that like the distance and the stuff that like pushes you into this place. Also, what I like about distance is it gives you space to adjust. So like if you have space to catch someone somewhere on a breaststroke pullout, or you know what I mean?
Right. A lot can happen.
It's probably kind of like, I'm just not as, the sprinters have to throw down,
It's one of my favorite events as a coach.
Yeah, what's that?
It's one of my favorite events as a coach to watch. Is
Really?
that 400 IM. Oh yeah, I love it.
Why is that?
Well, because of all the reasons you said. There's so many opportunities there's so much strategy there. It's such a tactical race. There's so, the strengths and weaknesses are really highlighted. And if you do it right,
Yes.
it's great. And plus, demonstrating all 4 of those strokes, plus all 4 of those transition turns. It's pretty amazing what the human brain and body can do.
I'm not a breaststroker by any, my knee still kind of bothers me sometimes, and I don't swim anymore, but I learned a good breaststroke pullout because I could gain there was something to be gained in IMs by it. So, but it was sad state of affairs watching all the breaststrokers come get me.
I know. Yeah. You got to hustle at the beginning.
I love that your admiration for the nuance of a 4 a.m. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Note to self, stop bringing it back to me, but I'll get better at it. I did a good job this time, but I ended us with that. Can you take us out on a good note? Can you take us out on, we'll end it up here. What would be your, this is too vague, but what is a good parting statement, do you think, about, I don't even know, about maybe where you see Swimming, yeah, you got something, go ahead.
No,
Oh,
I'm listening.
like, what do you think is the healthiest thing about where we're all going with swimming now?
I think the healthiest thing is that we are still experiencing, at least at the collegiate level, quite a bit of support and innovation. I'm on the NCAA rules committee for swimming and diving, and so I know that there still are a lot of people vested in making the sport better. And I think that's a good thing. I think that we are starting to even more so appreciate those Olympic sports and then those life sports as well.
Mm.
I know that there's transition all the time in club and college swimming. Teams come and teams go. I think that what it does show us is that there is a lot of commitment and dedication among athletes and their families to help the sport prevail. And the resilience is really great to see. And um, also, I gotta say, one of the things that is all so encouraging to me is the commitment of the club coaches and assistant coaches who really do it for the love of the sport. So it's my full-time job, but I have incredible assistant coaches who work for very little money and who do it because they love it. And I know a lot of coaches like that. So we've got adults committed to loving the sports. We have families committed to getting their kids to swim practice. We have kids committed to racing and swimming fast and in our state and around our country. And I think that the more we celebrate that, the better.
That was amazing. We're going to stop on that note. Eileen Hall, head coach of men's and women's swimming and diving team at St. Michael's College. We are so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you. And thank you for joining episode 2 of the Swim with Annie podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Uh-huh.